there's a school of thought that bird poop is lucky, but I'm sure that's just one of those things that we say, like your sister was just narrowly missed by some seagull poop this week. I think, if it lands on you, it's one of those things we say. It's a bit like saying bald men are more virile. We tend to make up things that make people feel better.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, hello.
Hello. How annoying was that?
Yeah, that was a bit annoying, wasn't it?
It used to happen when I was using Skype, but I don't use Skype anymore at all now because I can't log into that. So I don't understand why it's... Anyway, one of those mysteries that just life sends to challenge us sometimes.
One of the great mysteries of life, Nicola.
I know, but I'm so zen-like now I'm meditating. It barely touches the surface.
So for the benefit of the gentle listener, we couldn't hear one another, so we both had to reboot, which we did spectacularly quickly, didn't we?
Yeah, God, Max, thank God for them. It used to take 17...
Well, my new computer is a Surface Pro. It then takes nanoseconds to do it.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I think it's new computers rather than a specific model.
Yeah, it could be.
My old Windows computer, you say 17 minutes to reboot.
Oh, I know. And in the olden days when I knew you were going to reboot, I mean, we could go off and change the laundry over and make a cup of tea, couldn't we, when that was going on? Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, you go first this week because I've come to the call slightly breathless. You go.
Okay. All right, you've been doing exciting things. Well, I've just had to usher a little birdie out of my house because it's such a glorious day here. I come upstairs and I open my front door and my patio door, my balcony door, and just let the breeze go through. But unfortunately, on this occasion, it meant a bird came in, and I just noticed he pooped on my floor. So
lovely.
That's clean up, but I'm sure it's lucky, isn't it? I'm sure it is.
I think so. There's a school of thought that bird poop is lucky, but I'm sure that's just one of those things that we say, like your sister was just narrowly missed by some seagull poop this week. I think, if it lands on you, it's one of those things we say. It's a bit like saying bald men are more virile. We tend to make up things that make people feel better. Bird shat on you, good luck. Bald, more virile. We make up these little things that make us feel more cheerful about ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the excitement a moment ago. And what else? It's been a very unexciting week, actually. I went obviously out to Dave's Dining Club on Friday, and I've had quite a flurry of little holiday bookings, people wanting to come and visit me this year, which is quite nice. So obviously people are, thinking ahead and thinking she's going to be staying there for a while, so I might as well get booked in. And,
family or what?
Friends and family. Yeah, I've got Heather arriving on the 28th, 29th. Heather and Richard, and they're staying for a week, and then I go back to England and for my speaking engagement at the International Coach Federation, and then I come back with Sarah, who's going to stay at least a month, if not a month and a half, because there's a big do that she'd like to attend. And then I've got Suzanne Jorgensen is going to pop out, hopefully, and at the same time Sarah's here, which is nice. And then I've got some people booked in for September already.
Wow.
Oh no. It's going to be quite...
Well, remember what my dad used to say, guests and fish go off after 3 days.
Well, exactly. But what I'm doing is I'm letting them have my house, and then I'm moving it to 2 doors down where there's a little studio with a
brilliant.
So they get the benefit of a cheap holiday, and I get the benefit of not having to be in the same house with them. Yes,
perfect. Exactly my sort of solution. Well done.
Exactly. So whenever people say, can we give you something for it? I say, yeah, just pay for me to stay in the studio. And they'll, because if you're bringing 3 people on holiday, it's quite expensive, but not when you've got free accommodation. But, it's much better to pay for dirt cheap mates accommodation, for 1 person than it is to pay for 3 people. So...
I'm not mad for staying with other people, even if it is cheaper, to be honest.
No, I don't like it either, but it's not. It's never.
I think when you live abroad, it's different because a welcome visit from home is quite fun, isn't it?
Exactly, and you get to show them all your favourite places, and it means you go out more because when you're living somewhere, you don't go out as often as when you're on holiday, do you?
Well, you do. You go out more in Stupor than you ever did in Shoreham.
That's very true. Very true. There are things to go to all the time here.
Tell my clients about that all the time.
What's that? About?
Well, that you never went anywhere in Shoreham, but when you moved your location, you turned into more of an outdoorsy person and the supportive environment of it.
Yeah, well, it's something to do with combination of the weather, people being outdoors, and people inviting you. That's always
Yes.
tough, isn't it?
I think in expat communities, people will talk to people they wouldn't dream of talking to back home, if you know what I mean.
Very true. I have a circle of friends who are mixed, to say the least.
Yes, because they're there, basically, isn't it?
And also, there are certain topics that have to remain undiscussed over dinner tables. So, for example,
Yes.
out of about 12 of us, most people are liberals, but there are 2 rampant Trump supporters who even their spouses won't discuss their politics with. So that's
dear.
I know it's a complete banned taboo subject of conversation at dinner.
Yes, I wasn't going dear about Trump. I was going dear about being married to somebody whose politics are different from yours.
Well, astonishingly, one couple didn't realise till too late. They were actually married before they...
I mean, it doesn't surprise me in a way. I mean, people are very weird about politics. I remember an old boyfriend telling me that a previous girlfriend of his campaigned for one party but voted for another.
Oh, well, that's interesting, isn't
it? People are just strange, yeah.
Yes, but that's pretty much my week, really. It was rainy for the first part of the week, and literally yesterday and today has been absolutely glorious. I got my nose a little bit burnt yesterday at the Right Club meeting because we had lunch in the sunshine, and so now it's time to wheel out the sunblock.
Well, I will tell you that our weather has matched yours. It's been a little bit pants on Monday to Wednesday, but today the sun is as high as an elephant's eye, Nicola.
Oh, well, there you go. You can't get any higher than that, can you?
No, well, I think you can, actually, but it's a good song. I love that song. And, of course, Hugh Jackman is the man that sings it. So when you've got an idle moment, do Google. I'll give you a link. I'll put a link in the show notes because it's something I like to sing on sunny days.
Oh, very good. Okay.
It's now known as a Hugh Jackman around here because, of course, he's so terribly handsome, isn't it?
He is terribly handsome. Hugh Jackman, marvellous.
And he can sing as well. Who knew?
Oh, that's impressive. Oh, is that from the new movie, is it?
Well, no, I'm talking Oklahoma, which he did on the stage in London, which I saw him do live, which was totally brilliant. But the 3 people that went with me on my birthday, the 2 women were very nice and polite and stayed in the auditorium, but the man left and smoked on the pavement because Oklahoma was so not his bag. But yes, the latest thing he's in is called The Greatest Showman. And, of course, he sang very nicely in Les Miserables, the film. Did you see that? No. Oh, he sang fantastically in that. He's a surprisingly good singer. I'd rather watch him sing than do, what's the thing with the knives come out of his fingers?
Wolfman.
X-Men. Yeah, I don't want to see him doing that, really.
No. So what's your week been up to then?
Oh, well, I've got as much to tell you in this section as you had little, which is tomorrow is Good Friday and I'm moving house. But before we go there, I prepared a short dissertation on today, which is Maundy Thursday. And I know you won't be interested because it's about what Maundy Thursday means in the Christian religion. And I wouldn't say really that I'm a Christian, but I'm aware of the meanings of words and the historical significance of days. But I will tell you 2 tiny facts about Maundy Thursday, which is always the day before Good Friday. And I found it from an article published in The Sun yesterday. The traditions associated with Maundy Thursday are that food and clothing is handed out to the poor, alms, ALMS. You know about alms housing.
Yeah.
So on Maundy Thursday, us good Christians hand out food and clothing to the poor people. But the Queen hands out Maundy money to pensioners in local communities. And Maundy money is made up of coins that have been specially minted for the occasion. They are legal tender and highly collectible.
Well, I didn't even realise it was Easter weekend, so there you go.
Oh, you mad old stick. Anyway, so back to my notes. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and the reason I give you the little Eastery lead-in to that is because I'm moving house tomorrow. I'm moving from southeast England, and I'm going 150 miles west of here, which means I'll end up in southwest England.
Oh, how
and the day of Good Friday of the move was not the day of my choosing, but it meant, when I looked at the map, OMG, I'm going to be driving past Stonehenge on a dual carriageway. I don't think it's even a dual carriageway. I think it's a 2-lane highway in that when you get there. On Good Friday bank holiday weekend, when everybody's going down to the West Country and taking their children. No. So blissfully, I'm so good with maps, and there are a couple of properties I want to look at en route, one in Surrey and one in Hampshire. So I'm taking the scenic route, which is going to add nearly 2 hours to my journey time, but it means I won't have to queue past Stonehenge on a bank holiday Easter Friday. It'll be lovely and leisurely, and it means I can skip that bit that goes past Stonehenge, which all the holiday traffic will be on, and I'll be packed by bedtime tonight for a reasonably fast getaway in the morning. I'm quite excited, actually, especially given that it wasn't my choice, and it's nothing. My point here is it's nothing short of amazing how fast we adapt to new ideas when we must.
I know. And isn't it lovely to be able to pack in one evening.
Well, so I'm packed. I'm sitting amongst all my packing, and I did it on Tuesday afternoon, and I've jettisoned some stuff. I'll tell you that when I moved here, my friend sent a van and 2 men to bring me, and we used the van and my car. And when I leave tomorrow, I will be leaving with just my car. So some things that I brought with me will not be able to come with me. But the other thing that I'm leaving behind in Kent, do you want to know what that is?
Yeah.
2 stone.
Another 2 stone?
No, not another 2 stone. When I arrived in Kent a year ago, I was 2 stone heavier. So I'm leaving 2 stone behind in Kent and a 3-piece suite.
You're leaving a 3-piece suite?
Well, because I can't get that in the back of my car, can I? We already gave away the sofa bed to charity some time ago, but I'm leaving behind a nice pink armchair and puff, as they say.
I have sat in your pink armchair and put my foot on your puff.
I like to sit in my pink armchair and put my feet on my puff, but that will no longer be possible because it won't fit in the back of my car.
Oh. Surely there must be a way to get it delivered, but
interestingly, I'm going to stay with a friend who my cleaning biz partner Emma, who has just bought into a business that does, guess what, removals and storage. Nice. So if I consider I want my armchair and puff, then she's the very woman to send a man up here to fetch it and then store it for me. But to be honest, Nicola, have you ever put stuff into storage before?
I have. I had quite a lot of stuff in storage for at least a year.
And what did you do in the end? You just bin it all, don't you, and cut the bleeding of the cost of the storage?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think once I leave here tomorrow, I will not be collecting the pink chair and the puff.
Yeah, my nanny. I'm going to tell you about my nanny because she called her puff a puffet.
Yes, I bet she did. Altogether, I use the word puff ironically, because I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what to call it. It's not really a footstool. It's not really a puff. I use it as a table, really. But anyway, there we go. It's staying behind.
It is so liberating leaving your possessions behind.
But it sort of is. It's slightly worrying, isn't it? I mean, for instance, because I packed on Tuesday afternoon and this is Thursday morning, I've been living off essentials, i.e. everything that I need is packed. And yesterday, I couldn't remember where I put my knickers. Fortunately, I hadn't packed them already. And this morning I ran out. Yesterday, I used my last 2 vitamin C tablets. I couldn't remember where the new stash was. Put my hand straight on it. But most of my possessions are in bags and have been for 2 days, and I haven't needed or missed any of it.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? It's amazing how much we can live.
I could go a lot lower. I could go lower by about 6 or 7 eighths. I.e. that would go in the front seat of my car, not the back seat and the boot as well.
I am down to 1 large suitcase and a small wheelie suitcase.
I know. What on earth did we spend all those decades collecting stuff for and housing it and paying rent to house it and rent to store it? And
no, it makes us feel safe. That's why we did it.
That's why I'm slightly worried about leaving some of my things behind, because they're things to which I am momentarily attached.
Well, are they?
But won't be after tomorrow, clearly.
Yeah, Sarah really drummed it into me when we were clearing out the little house on John Street. She said, really, does having a bunch of manky old cutlery and crockery make you feel safe?
Well, it's interesting. Not the manky crockery, no, but I've got a plastic box at my brother's house that's got some beautiful bits and bobs in it and my piano music. And also I have an heirloom chair, which I brought over here and then I drove back to him last weekend because even though I'm going past his house tomorrow, I knew the heirloom chair and my possessions wouldn't fit in the car, if you know what I mean. So there are some things that when I eventually put down roots again, which I expect to do because I am, after all, a Taurian, I would like to have in there. And they're my lovely old heirloomy things. Not many. They fit in a plastic box and they're 1 chair. That's it.
Yeah. Whereas when I come back and start putting roots down when the kids start having kids, I will simply rent or purchase a penthouse and I will fill it.
Oh, everything will be new. I agree. Apart from my chair and my plastic box, everything else will be new. I totally agree with you. It's the only way to move house these days as well.
I think so, yeah.
I don't think the people who love their stuff are going to be agreeing with us, by the way. But they couldn't be a digital nomad, could they?
No, and good luck to them for having lovely houses, but it's not something that I count as long as my house is, tidy and clean and aesthetically not too offensive. I'm absolutely cool with it. Everything goes inside my head.
I go back to my point. It is nothing short of amazing how fast we adapt to new ideas when we must.
Exactly. So what's fueled your fire this week then?
2 things, actually. They're both in my newsletter tomorrow, which I've handed over entirely to my clients. One's a testimonial, one's a correspondence, and 3 blog festers. Everybody else has written my newsletter for me tomorrow. 2 things, a nice testimonial, unbidden, And they're the best ones, aren't they? Because if you write and ask for them, it's like getting blood out of a stone. But when they send them in voluntarily, that's lovely.
Yeah.
After a coaching call last week, and I'm telling you about it because it was quite funny. The first was about being un-PC. She said, I really appreciated being able to be un-PC in the call about who she didn't want to work with, and that's how we found her ideal client, sort of backwards. Yeah. And she trusted me with her being able to say, I don't want to work with people like this, i.e. being quite un-PC, which is quite funny. And the second one is a very woo-woo correspondence with a man you know who shall remain nameless. And he is a very pragmatic person who operates at quite a high level in the real world, but he's terribly woo-woo as well. He almost out-woo-woos me. And the correspondence, which I think you'll sort of touch when you read it tomorrow, but there are two immortal expressions in it which say, the thing I was born to do found me. Mm-hmm. And that's something I discuss with my clients all the time. You know, I'm chasing the thing I'm born to do. I'm chasing it. Why don't you just chill and let it find you? And that's what we all said in that book of Hannah McNamara's. You know, did you find your niche? No, it found me. But his other immortal line is, when I don't try, the opportunities come my way and I flourish. That's how woo-woo he is. And you'll see when you read it tomorrow, it's a fantastic story.
I think
you'll be able to work out who it is. Yeah.
So my 30-day challenge is fueling my fire. It's absolutely, we're going to talk a little bit more about 30-day challenges in a minute, but it's absolutely astonishing how active the participants are. I got 70 people signed up, and there's it's the 80-20 rule, of course. What's 20% of 70? 14.
14.
Yeah, I got them before you, Judith.
Sorry, I was writing down 30 DC active participants, and I didn't know you were going to ask me to do a sum in the middle. I was doing the notes for the call. I was double multitasking, listening to you, writing down and answering a sum.
I have to take my tiny triumphs where I can when it comes to you.
Certainly mathematically, yes.
Yeah, and so it's amazing how that works, isn't it? But they are very, very active. And one nice man, Phillips, today said, I'm really enjoying, we're only on day 4, by the way, I'm really enjoying this challenge. It's great. And so that's really nice. And what it did for me was it enabled me to put I think I could go down to a 14-day challenge next time, because really the last 2 weeks are just rinse and repeat. But, I sort of thought I'd give them plenty of time to get loads of support. So we'll see what happens. I think I might do it 14 days next time. But, it's fueling my fire. It's making me reconnect with my content. It's making me realise how powerful it is, which I'm absolutely loving.
And is the thing that you've just told me about it, the active participants, is that what's fueling your fire, really?
Yes, it is. It's interacting with a load of people who are taking action and going through your stuff and doing it. So, focus of the week then. Following on from the 30-day challenge, fueling my fire, I wanted to talk about the whole concept of 30-day challenges, 90-day challenges, adventures, as you call them. And I wanted to just talk about it because something really struck me today. I mean, I've never been a participant in these things, mainly because unless I get a massive momentum going at the beginning, I tend to lose interest in things that are too slow. So I think that's why they don't work for me necessarily, although I do like the word challenge. I rise to challenges. Sarah told me about one she'd participated in recently that she really enjoyed and how they'd structured it. And she said that what they did was they took away the video from the day before every day. So basically you had to do it that day or lose it. Use it or lose it.
That's a good idea, because actually some of us sign up to these things and save it thinking we'll do it later, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And so I've decided, I thought a day was too draconian, especially for busy people. So I'm going to take them down after 3 days. And so they've got 3 days to catch up on each. I thought that's fair enough. That's a weekend. And so then what I've done is I've set it up so that it's going out day by day by email. And then Sarah made some suggestions like, why don't you put the video in the group so people don't, if they don't, because a couple of people weren't getting the emails, of course. And so I ended up putting links to the videos in the group, because if I upload them natively, then I won't be able to get rid of them without losing all the comments. So at least if I'm just linking to them on YouTube, I can then make them private. And so I won't lose all the comments in the group. So, so I've worked out a good structure for it. And the thing that made me want to discuss it with you and the whole concept of why they work and why they're so popular is because one lady who's highly intelligent said, bearing in mind she's getting a daily email with the tasks listed in it and links to bonus resources, and then it's coming into the Facebook group, so she's got that there as well, and people are discussing it. She then asked me for can you please list out clearly the daily tasks we have to do? And I thought, well, either you're not reading the emails or you're not understanding what I'm saying in the videos. And if you're watching the videos, you could be making notes. And I just found it really...
Isn't she saying the video isn't the best format for her and she would like a list?
Yes, well, she's getting a list in the email. So I've just queried whether she's getting the emails, because there is a list in the emails. But I just thought we could just discuss the whole thing. Is it... And also, it occurred to me how marvellous it would be for your book, because you could do a 52-day challenge, but it's so easy to set up and run. People just absolutely love them. What's your stance on it? Do you do them? Do you enjoy them? What do you think makes them work?
I don't think they work. I don't like them. I don't want to participate in a challenge. I hate the word structure.
Yes, I know.
So you're going to have to convince me of all of this, because no. And actually, as I read aloud the blog festas, I'm up to 40, I don't know, I've published 45 and I'm read up to 36. And I know they're all my ideal client and my ideal tribe, but they're all, and I'm reminded when I'm reading them aloud, because I've read them when I've published them, obviously, but then I read it aloud again. So it's giving me a whole new appreciation of what they've written. And all of them are saying, all of my tribe are on my side of this. Imagine this was a netball game and there's a line down the middle. Your tribe are on one side, you're playing on the blue team, and we're playing on the pink team. And we don't like it, thanks, but no.
So, okay, this is interesting, because I've never wanted to, as I say, I've tried a few. I mean, the most famous one was Ed Dale's 30-day challenge, where he took people through a process that every year got more elaborate, but started out quite simple, of this is what you do to start an internet business. And it was incredibly popular. He had thousands of people participating. It was very, very well thought of. It was very, and I just found it too slow. But I've got people in my 30-day challenge who are really, really serious players. And I thought, they're just learning to find out what I'm doing, really. They just want to see what I'm up to. But no, they're participating as well. And I'm fascinated by this whole concept that people need things broken down like this. And
yeah, when I was thinking, you're reminding me that, of course, I was the coach on John Williams's 30-day challenge in, 2013, maybe 14, I can't remember. And I did love it from the point of view of being the coach, but I was the person that I did it all in text, so it was a Ning platform, and they asked questions and I replied, and there was the odd webinar. But as many people that loved it hated it and dropped out because they were completely overwhelmed by all those people and all that content and having to keep on top of all the messages, which of course they didn't have to do. Yeah. But they couldn't find their way in it because it was so rich, which for some people is just overwhelming.
Yes, absolutely.
A community, largest community of 70 people interacting in a Facebook group is too much for some people. They can't see the wood for the trees. And people I like, and still to this day, I've got a lot of clients from that, and I'm still working with clients from that, and we remember that that's how we met, but they didn't necessarily thrive in that environment. And a client I still work with now, who I knew before that and after that, dropped out and was very vociferous about how it wasn't right for her. Now, it was a very relatively small sum of money, but I think, you see what I'm saying? There's a blue team down one end and a pink team up the other end, and they're oil and water. It's great for people who rise to challenges and who can interact. You've got to set aside the time if you're going to do it. And I think where I set aside the time to join in with, longer than 7 days would be hard for me as a participant, I have to say. Yeah. But it's never really that I can't go fast enough. In fact, the thing that you and I both like about the Michael Neal book is that it's quite slow.
Yeah, the thing I really like about it is it requires me to think, and I like thinking, and I hadn't got anything to think about at the time, so it came along at the right time.
Yeah, and slow, you do need it to be slow if you're going to think, because thinking is slow, it's a slow activity.
Yes. As a method of marketing my Be Everywhere Online process, it's hopefully working really well, because 70 people, I was quite impressed. In about 2/3 of them came from my own list. So it's invigorated, people within my own list, and it's attracted to other people, and hopefully I'll get testimonials out of it and it'll be bigger next time. And it's such an enjoyable thing to do for me, because once it's set up, of course, I can just, you close it and then you run it again in a different Facebook group. And the actual tech is really simple.
I mean, it's rather similar to my Blogfest in as much as it's given you something to do with your clients, and it's given me something to do with my clients, which also turns into content.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And the other thing, yes, it's creating a nice thing for new members in my membership site, because, I had a 7-day thing, but it was a little bit out of date, and this is bang up to date. And it's actually, I think I will make it into a 14-day thing, because it's, it is just rinse and repeat after the first 14 days. So I think
you might keep the Facebook group open while they're rinsing and repeating, just to make sure that they are, or they've got somewhere to go and say, yes, I've rinsed today.
Yes, absolutely. Because accountability seems to be a great big part of it. And I just find it fascinating that I think of myself as someone with a really chaotic brain, and I really have to force myself to come up with something structured like this. It was, as soon as I opened a spreadsheet, it got easier, of course. But thinking about it was quite overwhelming. So I'm just intrigued about why I find it difficult to do that, but I don't feel the need to be spoon-fed day by day. So if someone shows me a concept, I'm able to chunk it down myself. But watching everybody else in this group is really interesting, that some people really struggle to chunk a task down from the overall concept into action steps. I think that's what I really am trying to get to about talking about, because it must be just the way the different brains are wired.
I think it's also that they're busy and overwhelmed. And when you read the newsletter tomorrow about with the long correspondence with the woo-woo chap, he's got an explanation in there of why it is. It's that our brains are absolutely stuffed to overflowing with uncompleted tasks, relationships, life goals, things up in the air, moving house. This week when people have come to me and said, can you do this? No, can't do anything until next week because I'm moving house. Because if I took on anything else, it would just tip me into nutville. I think it's that not everybody, a lot of people that sign up to things like this with you and me and other people, where they don't make progress is they've got too many. I think the NLPers call them nested loops. They've got too many open things in their mental hard drive, and they can't take on anything more. They're cluttered. That's it. That's what he's saying. He took a year off, this man, and he said all he did in that year was finish things. And then he was clean and open to opportunity and new adventure, and it came in. But he couldn't do anything while he was full of stuff. And I think people are full. I said to him, you and I have recorded, this is our 175th show, and the first one we did, I chose the topic to be clutter, because that mental clutter stops everybody achieving everything. So they might pay lip service to something like this, but the people who can't chunk it down, there's no more room on their hard drive, Nicola. When our computers won't do any more because they're full up. I think most people are full up. So you've got to make a bit of space if you want to do something like this. Otherwise, you're just paying lip service to it.
Yes, I was having a conversation with a potential client on Wednesday, and he said, I've just started a job, but, he just got divorced, actually. He said, so, sad as it is, I've got more time on my hands, and my children with my wife, half and half, we have, so I've got more time on my hands. He said, and I've just started a job in the city, which involves an hour's travel each way, an hour and a half. I said, oh, lucky you. I said, you can sit there. I said, I've done this. I've commuted to London. It gave me an hour and a half every day in an incredibly busy life with 2 small children to just think. And I was able to plan my whole future in those train journeys. And I was then able to decide what to do next. And then when I got off the train, I was ready to take action because I had time to ruminate and reflect and think and plan. And I think other people as well, they watch the news, they watch the television, they listen to radio, they have sports, they have, there's lots of other stuff going on that fills up their RAM, like you say. Mm. So perhaps these challenges are little moments of clarity, with one thing to do a day that makes them feel like they're moving forward, which they are in fact, and which they wouldn't do if they hadn't signed up for a challenge.
I still think you need to look at your RAM and go, have I got space for this right now, or shall I join the next challenge? Because otherwise I think we're paying lip service to it. So it's got to come at the right time when you can make space for it. Do you remember last summer I did one about Facebook and then one about something else?
Oh, yeah.
The Facebook one was, I think, 5 or 7 days. 7 days delivered over 5 days, Monday to Friday, and then 2, whatever. I think there's a cynic in me as well, that the majority of them, I'm not saying this about yours because I don't think it's true of yours actually, but the majority of them, of course, are just a wheeze to upsell us to something at the end of the week, and I am deeply resistant to that.
Yes, I mean, I'm just making I'm making an offer that people can get a discount on my membership if they want to carry on.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think after you've given something for free, I think you're perfectly entitled to offer them something for money. But I know I don't want to buy something, so I don't go to the majority of them to begin with, if that makes sense.
Yes, and also there is a fine line between are you delivering something that people can actually action, or are you delivering something 3/4 where they can't actually action unless they buy your thing. There's a real difference in that, and I've made a conscious decision to give everything away. If people do join my challenges, they will get everything they need in the time frame, but it's just for the people who'd like more support afterwards and more detailed how-to videos, for example. Then they'd have to come along and work with me. But that's I'm giving.
Or if it started to work and they want the accountability of keeping it working. Now I'm going to cycle you back, and I want you to draw breath, and I want you to answer these 2 questions that you asked, and I want you to do it pithily, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So, what is your theory then on why they work?
Because it chunks the action steps down for people. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to do the chunking down themselves.
Okay, and why? What is your theory then about why they are so popular? Accountability, I think, isn't it?
Well, it's accountability, yeah, and
doing it with other people. Is it important to be, there be a community?
Yeah, people are saying how much they're enjoying. They're calling each other the gang and things. So community is a big part of it.
Okay. And would you do it in a different structure? I've written here daily email links and Facebook group. Is that the optimum structure, or would you do it another way next time?
The optimum structure would be to do it within my membership site, so everything is being captured in there forever.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't figure out. You know what I'm like? If I have an idea, I want to get it going.
Yes, but if you did a 14-day version, could you put it in the membership site?
I could, yes, which would get people used to using that environment.
Yes, I think that could be crucial.
Yeah. And they would feel left out once they weren't able to log in again. Perhaps so the fear of missing out. FOMO is real. So yes, that's I'm going to set it up for that next time, I think. But people are on Facebook all day long. They do like getting the notifications. There's a lot of tech going on there that facilitates this kind of forum, which I wouldn't have on my website. So
no, and I agree with you. However, I think the writing's on the wall for Facebook. So the conversation we always have about your own real estate, I think it's as pertinent as ever.
Yeah, really. So you think he's blown it this time, do you?
Well, he's got a big mountain to climb to come back. If my business wasn't dependent on it, I would have left.
Really? What, in protest? So what's
happening? Absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because Gary Vaynerchuk is banging on about Snapchat again and how much he's doubling down on it. But when I open up my Snapchat app, not one of the youngsters has updated their Snapchat story in days.
No, so what you're saying is they're all over Snapchat. They're finished with it.
They're finished. Yeah, they're moved on. Yeah.
I don't want to leap from one to another to another to another. Facebook worked best for me. I don't want to build up a new community on another platform. But if my business didn't require it, I would have left in high dudgeon.
Yeah. But looking at what the kids are doing, the 19 to 20 to 4-year-olds, I think they're out living real life, Judith. They're not on any platform that I
Good. Yeah. So that's why the writing's on the wall for Facebook then, isn't it? Because actually there's a backlash against people living their lives virtually.
Yes, and they're all very aware of, they shouldn't look at all, the gorgeous creatures and compare themselves and things.
Yeah.
And the only thing they do seem to be using is group chats to keep in touch and keep a sense of...
And that's like WhatsApp, is it?
Yes. Well,
yeah, I need to get into that. And because I was with a guy at my brother's house 2 weeks ago, and they use those because, of course, they are encrypted end to end, he told me. So nobody's looking at your stuff on WhatsApp.
Well, the only thing about WhatsApp, I'm using Telegram as much as I have to use these things, because WhatsApp eats up all the space on my iPhone. The actual app itself is very space hungry.
Yeah, like Skype.
And look at Telegram as well, because Telegram is supposed to be more secure than WhatsApp.
Yeah, but that's no good if you've got to persuade everybody to come onto it. You've got to be on one where everybody... It's a bit like when you had the first fax machine. If nobody else had one, what was the point,
Good point. Yeah, good point. So just to recap then, we think people like it because of the community, they like it because of the accountability, they like it because it's chunked down, they don't have to think about it themselves, and it's great for people like me who are trying to introduce people to a program, and I'll let you know how many of the 70 sign up to work with me afterwards.
And if I could just speak on behalf of the Pink Tribe, if listening to this and you see an opportunity to join a challenge and all of your body wisdom is screaming, no, 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 have the confidence not to go anywhere near it. It's a 50-50 world. This works for some and not for others. And if you're one of the others, that's cool.
And be aware that if it works well, then the person concerned will be running it again and you can join next time.
Yeah, no scarcity. Absolutely right.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. So what's your word of the week then?
It's consistent. It's come up several times this week with my clients in their check-ins and in the Blogfest posts and on our calls. And either they are consistent with good results or they want to be consistent because they can see it has so many benefits.
Yes, and the only way I can ever be consistent is by being accountable to other people.
That's interesting.
In my DNA. So.
One of my most successful clients just does one blog post and one newsletter a week, and that's what she's done since God was a lad, and that's where all her business comes from.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So she's kept going longer than that too.
Yeah, but her clients expect it and like it, and she delivers it every week without fail, and that's that. It's amazing, actually, in a world which isn't consistent, which shifts a lot. Maybe that's what people like. It's like, oh, at least I can rely on that rock.
Yes, we've been reading your newsletter since God was a lad as well on a Friday.
Well, interestingly, I do that because that comes out consistently every Friday because I made the commitment to myself as a writer.
Oh, okay.
So I do it for the reader, but the commitment was for me as a writer. I will write and publish every Friday without fail. In fact, even if I don't have a business in the future, I will probably still do that because I will be a writer.
Nice. Like it.
What's your word?
It's sunshine, because
Yay!
I need so much of it. I love it. Yeah. It makes me feel good. Even just waking up in the morning, opening my eyes and seeing sunshine outside makes me feel happier.
Yeah.
I've just realised.
Well, me too, Nicola, but I realised from, I think, Michael Neill's book, and we now practice this in my I Love My Life group, that we mustn't rely on the weather to dictate whether or not we feel good. We can choose to feel good in the morning. I'm just going to open up email because it tells me what my temperature is and I can see what yours is. And I think ours is quite good here, although it gives it to me in the old-fashioned language. So I will need to convert it from Fahrenheit while you're talking.
Well, I'm just going to say that it might say it's 17 degrees, but that's inside the house. And houses here are always a couple of degrees cooler than it is outside. So I know if I go outside, it will be warmer.
Yeah. Well, we've been promised another snowmageddon for Easter, but actually they can stick off with that because we now have a gloriously sunny day today.
No, I've got an unexpected party to look forward to now you've said it's Easter weekend, because I've been invited to something on Sunday where there's going to be, full Greek do with.
Interestingly, the Greeks take Easter very seriously, but not at Easter time. They do egg painting and all sorts of things. They do it at another time of year, I think. Or Greek Easter is a different date, I think, whatever. You'll find out.
Oh, so it might not be this weekend then?
Well, I'm sure it is Easter weekend around the world this weekend.
I better find out, hadn't I?
I have a client who's married to a Greek, and all the egg painting and I haven't seen her do it this week. So normally it's all over Facebook, egg painting. So it may be that I might Google it while you're talking. I think
I might be a week out.
I don't. It's definitely Easter weekend, but the Greeks make a big thing about Easter. And I've got a funny feeling that their dates are not, I don't know.
I think it's next week.
Let me have a look. Greek Easter dates 2018. Let me have a look. Keep talking while I'm Googling.
It's their biggest
I know.
Christmas.
No, you're right. It's the 8th of April. Orthodox Easter in Greece is a week later than here. So your party's not this weekend, I'm afraid. It's next weekend.
Oh, good. Okay, so I was suddenly disorientated thinking it was a bank holiday weekend anyway, it's all whip.
Well, and interesting, I haven't seen my client married to the Greek doing the egg painting. So there you go. I've got a client in Greece at the moment, actually, as well. I'm quite up with the Greeks.
Up with the Greeks.
Yeah.
Project updates. Let's move on while we do this. So we had the massive spike. Somebody said how funny it was to listen to us discovering that massive spike live.
It was funny, actually.
Yeah. And,
although they haven't heard it yet. That's tomorrow's episode.
Oh, well, damn, I've just ruined it.
I think it was you and I think it was funny.
I haven't ruined it because they won't hear that till next week.
No.
So we got an email afterwards. I went looking to see if I could find out what caused this spike. 3,500 listens in one day, downloads in one day, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then we got an email from Radio Public inviting us to monetize our podcast and click here to do that. And they said that they'd featured us on the trending.
It's like newbies of the week, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was trending in. And then you go along and there was a picture of an owl that said indies to watch. And if you click that, then we were in that listing. So I think that's where all the spike came from. But I was talking with the Right Club ladies, and they said, well, why don't we just redirect our domain name to the Radio Public?
Well, I agree. I've been saying to you for ages, we need to monetize our podcast via Radio Public.
Well, the only way we could just swap our domain name would be by losing the website. So that's quite a big deal for us, but it would save a lot of work.
Well, it's tempting. Don't tempt me. I mean, that would be great.
We'd have to talk to Sarah because our podcast is disseminated from our website.
Yes, let's talk to Sarah.
Yeah, because it might, A, save us a lot of work, so we don't actually get that much traffic on the website, and B, it might make us some money. You never know.
Quite.
The thing I did discover, just for the listeners' information, you only make money on your Radio Public podcast if you don't have any ads in it. How they can tell, I don't know, but we're losing our ads as of this week.
But actually, that's made us the principal sum of $15, hasn't it, that ad?
Well, I think it made us two times that, but nothing to get excited about.
No.
So excited was I didn't even tell you about the second one, I don't think.
But I did tell you that, because I calculated, that's that day you said, I thought you were going to talk to us about the podcast, and I'd asked you how many downloads. If we'd been on Radio Public at the beginning, that would have been worth $1,600 to us.
Wow. That's worth having, isn't it?
Quite.
Hosting at least.
It would have paid all our costs in those 3 years.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we need to seriously consider this then.
Yes, please.
All right. After the call, perhaps.
Not just because of the monetization, but because if we take away the website, that's my show notes job gone, isn't it?
Yes.
Although we need to work out, because there presumably have to be some show notes on Radio Public, don't there?
No, not as far as I'm aware.
Well, I have show notes on mine because I've done it on Audio Boom first. But anyway, whatever. Yeah.
Let's go to Radio Public right now and have a look.
I think they're picking up on our blog post on Radio Public is currently picking up the show notes that we've done from either the RSS feed for iTunes or our website or Libsyn.
You're right.
So it will show it now, but if we don't have the website, it might not. So that's what Sarah needs to look into.
Look at that. Oh.
A podcast, I will tell you while you're looking that up, because I'm reading these blog posts and I'm up to number 35. Yesterday I did 5 and I watched my listener numbers go up while I was publishing 5.
Wow.
I know.
So we must have been on this front page then for a little while. That's why we got so many.
I'm watching your screen.
Yeah.
I can't have too many windows open when I'm doing this with you, otherwise it just all goes to...
I think we must have been listed on this front page.
Okay.
We're not at the moment, so we've moved on. But, fascinating. Do you know anything about Radio Public? Do you know whether it's new or old or whether it's been around for years or what? Is it?
No, I don't, but I found it from Audio Boom recommending that I list myself on all these other platforms.
Yeah, that's what
and then they communicated with me in the very nice way that they communicated with you. And they send regular encouraging things to make sure that we're monetizing our own podcast. My favorite thing for the listener, by the way, listener, darling, if you listen to 3 on the Radio Public link, Radio Public gives us a $3 bonus for that.
Wow, nice.
So if 400 of our listeners listened on our Radio Public, we'd make $1,200.
Okay, and you can get an app for your iPhone,
yes,
which doesn't take up so much space at all,
I'd say. Yeah.
From Radio Public. So they've just had a big investment from Bose Corporation, which are the headphones, very nice headphones.
Well, and the gorgeous listening devices as well.
Yes. Oh.
They're lovely sort of, we always wanted a Bose CD player in the olden days. They're gorgeous.
Yeah. So Bose Ventures say, as podcasting continues to expand as go-to entertainment for millions of people, we've been impressed by Radio Public's efforts to lead and drive this ecosystem. Bose sees opportunities to provide great user experiences for podcast consumers, and we look forward to helping Radio Public.
Well,
Yeah.
Do you know, we talked recently, I think, about somewhere in some forum, if not on the podcast, I was talking with somebody recently. Oh, I know, YouGov asked me about adverts and sponsorship. Do you remember me talking about sponsorship of television programs? So, Coronation Street is sponsored by
Yes.
Cadbury's, and all the drama I watch is sponsored by Hyundai or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But I must just say that if I was Radio Public and or Bose, that is a deeply sexy hookup. The brand match between Radio Public, and if I was Radio Public and I'd attracted that from Bose, I'd be chuffed to bits. And for Bose, that's a really clever hookup.
Yeah. It says at Radio Public, we are obsessed with the idea that podcasting should be as intuitive as radio.
Yeah.
Well, that has been the issue up until now.
Well, Nicola, this is so on message with what we believe about podcasting. We must pile in and support Radio Public on both of our podcasts here.
Yeah. Oh, I've put all of mine on there. I've got 5 now.
I mean, in terms of signing up to the monetizing and encouraging our clients and maybe switching over the links. Maybe I'll find out if I can do away with Audio Boom and go, can I record directly to Radio Public, or have I got to have an RSS feed?
I don't know.
No, all things to consider after the moving of the house.
Absolutely. One thing at a time, sweet Jesus.
You're absolutely right.
Moving on. Who or what's impressed this week?
I haven't told you about my project updates.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's not very interesting, but I'll tell you anyway. 45 out of 52 Blogfestas published, 7 to go, and the deadline is tomorrow. I'm reasonably confident that everyone will deliver, but since I should be moving house tomorrow, they'll have to get published over the weekend. I might have to backdate them so I get them all online by the 31st of March, but nobody will care but me. But this is my creating the impossible challenge, which ends tomorrow. I'm worried that the 7 I have left is precise, no room for dropouts. So if 7 don't deliver, I'll be a bit short. Fingers crossed, although obviously I could call for a few reserves if need be, but I don't think it will, because I'm trusting the big U to deliver the perfect 52. And I took delivery of one overnight, so that's 46, 6 to deliver. And I know by name who the 6 to deliver are, but they're down to the wire. It's the 29th today and the 31st is the deadline. So 6 people right up against the deadline. Let's see. One of them is your Kate Cocker, actually.
She's always up against.
But she has reconfirmed several times that I will have it by the 31st. Whenever I've gone into slightly worrywart, she's gone, you'll have it by the 31st. So she clearly understands a deadline.
Yeah, she does, being in radio herself. Okay, so who or what's impressed this week then?
You go first.
Well, I was listening to James's podcast, James Shramko, and he interviewed Vishen Lakhani, who is obviously the founder of Mind Valley, one of the biggest personal development websites and companies and movements around the world. And I just really, really enjoyed the interview. And I went off to download Vishen's app, which you can get in the iTunes store, and it's completely free. And within that, there's a sort of little thing to do, little 2 or 3 things to listen to. And then he shares his 6-phase meditation, which is 15 minutes. And I really, really like it because it cycles through 6 things, which I really enjoyed. And I found myself, that 15 minutes just whizzes past, and I found myself extremely relaxed indeed.
If somebody had said to me, even 2 months ago, do you think Nicola Cairncross will ever meditate? I would have put money against it. And it's absolutely, fascinating, this.
Well, it's Michael Neal got me started with this.
I know.
Take 5, he called it.
I know. And the only reason you did that was because I kept thinking about you when reading that book. But I never thought that the thing that you'd get most out of the book would be learning to meditate.
I know. And what I'm astonished by is how much better it makes you feel. I actually felt really quite...
Well, because there's science to support that from your MRI scans of successful people's brains. Of course you're in it. Of course. That's so motivating for you.
Yes, totally. And there's all the sciences backing up all the... So I'm not interested in thousands of years of wisdom, but the minute you put a bit of tech behind it, I'm in there like a rat up a drain pipe.
Doesn't really matter how we get into anything, as long as we eventually get into the things that are good.
Brilliantly, I know Phoebe uses she's got the Calm app, the one. So I know she doesn't do it regularly, but she does do it, and I know that it's going to be incredibly beneficial for her because she's wired quite like me. So whereas Nelson lives in a Zen state all the time, as far as
also the other thing is, sometimes you struggle to sleep and you listen to podcasts. You could go to meditations from Calm and Insight Timer and the 6-phase meditation. You might find it impacts sleep, or you might choose a meditation rather than a podcast. One is an upper and one's a downer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea, although I have got several podcasts that send me straight to sleep.
Right, okay. Why anybody would listen to a podcast that sends you straight to sleep, I don't know. But that's the reason, isn't it? How funny. You're going to write in and say, I just must tell you that, your podcast sends me straight to sleep.
No, that's a bit rude, isn't it? So I'm not going to say who it is either.
No, good. Phew.
Put it this way, it's older American gentlemen.
Okay.
Oh, dear.
I like to fall asleep to the sounds of an older American gentleman.
I do, yeah. So we're ideally two discussing marketing.
Okay.
Brilliantly. What about you then?
Yeah, well, one is that I'm in week 3 with the front runner of my low carbers.
Oh, yeah.
And last week she had this, marvellous... Well, week 1 was good, week 2 was good. In the middle of week 2, she was flushed with success about, I think this could be easy. Well, she had a weekend away and she fell off the wagon. And in the old dieting days, that would have been the green light to have said, well, that's it, I've spoiled it now. And you go on to eat the entire contents of the house and more. But when she got back from her long weekend, we had a conversation, we talked and we laughed and we shared and we recognised each other in the behaviour. And it led to a few fascinating thoughts about identity and about food generally. And the impressive and inspirational thing is getting back on the wagon and being prepared to do that over and over forever. Learning that it's about making smarter choices, realizing that it's always a choice, even when it feels like the carb has a power over us as opposed to the other way around. And remembering that any addict takes just one day at a time. So if you decide not to have a biscuit today because you can have one tomorrow, you're kidding yourself in a good way, because there is only ever today and now. So the way they get people off booze and drugs is one day at a time, sweet Jesus, and it's only today. And you can always have a drink tomorrow or a biscuit tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes, of course.
I'm so glad that's going really well for you and for them as well.
Well, it's more about, I've been through all of these things before them. I've had this false idea that it's going to be easy and successful and I'll be over it in 5 minutes and then I can eat again. And then you realize it's for the rest of your life and it's always a choice, and that all human beings fall off and we just get back on again. But we didn't in the olden days when we were dieters. We fell off and we just ate everything. And well, we go, it's Easter now, I'll just eat every chocolate egg in my purview and then I'll start again next week. But you don't do that on this. You get back on immediately.
And you are having a bit of a long distance effect because we're talking about it and I'm watching you talking about it and everything. I did go out for dinner the other night on my own and I actually left 99% of the chips and I only ate 1 out of 4 of the delicious warm pita bread bits. Well,
interestingly, my client that lives in Greece, her 2 temptations are the bread and the chips.
Yeah.
And she says that when you have a cup of coffee in Greece, it's delivered with biscuits, and when you have a drink, it's delivered with crisps. And she now makes them, send them away. Chips and bread, not really my thing. I'm more of a biscuit woman myself. But sometimes I'm at other people's house and the very, very delicious luxury biscuits are right under my nose and there's a lovely waft coming off it, and I just move it over to their side of the table.
Yeah.
Whilst recognising it's still a choice, that if I put my hand in there and eat one. So, for instance, my client who fell off the wagon, she ate one thing and then she ate another and then she spoiled it. And I said, look, I'm going to tell you that I am perfectly happy with your choice for number 1 and number 2, even though they were carby, because, we must have some carbs in our lives. And there are places when you're away from home and there's nothing to eat and you take the least worst choice. But the third one was just, fallen off the wagon now, might as well have a piece of toast. You can't afford to go to that third place.
Yeah.
And of course, there's nothing of any value in toast at all, except that we think that we love it.
Well, also, there's years of brainwashing that bread is good. So it's,
Well, if I could give anybody listening 2 tips, and it'll be hard, it's don't eat cereal for breakfast and have sandwiches for lunch. If you avoid cereal and bread and toast, and bread, it's hard because all of my clients so far, bread is their thing, whereas biscuits is mine. So they're floury, gluten-y people, and I'm a sugar person. They're the same thing in the end in the body. But if what's wrong with our diet is cereal for breakfast and toast, and if you just gave up those and had eggs, you wouldn't have a problem ever.
I know. It's
drop off
hard because I've actually started not having breakfast and going straight to an omelette for lunchtime.
Yes, or brunch. I have mid-morning brunch, breakfast and lunch combined, and then in the middle of the afternoon, lunch and dinner combined. 2 meals a day, never feel hungry as long as you eat the right things. And, it's bread and it's toast and cereal. Don't have toast and cereal ever.
And, we've been brought up to believe that cereal is a healthy breakfast.
Yes, but Nicola, it's propaganda. They're just marketing propaganda. So it's fortified with extra vitamins and niacin. Oh, for heaven's sake.
I know. And the other thing is, the whole thing about you've got to break your fast. Actually, if you could go 12 hours without eating.
Well, I agree about that. However, if you're going to have breakfast, have eggs.
Yeah, because they're protein, they get you going.
Well, and also it's not very long to make them.
No, they are.
And they're not the villains they've been made out to be. They're not cholesterol. Cholesterol's another con. Anyway, don't start me.
No. Okay, well, anyway, just want you to know you're having a positive influence from afar over here.
Okay. By the way, and you saw my note, which is saying, by all means, eat the deep-fried aubergine slices with the full fat goo on them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both allowed.
They were delicious.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole point of this. What we can eat is delicious. What we choose to eat is delicious.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Well, on that note, I'm not having my roast lamb on a spit on Sunday. I'm having it next week instead.
Yes, you might be. If I were you, I'd double check because you might be on for 2 Easter Sundays. Who knows?
See you later then.
Okay. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitpodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.